Hello and welcome to another episode of On My Bookshelf, and in this episode we're not just going to be looking at one book. Oh no, we're going to look at a whole collection of books, and because these are location guidebooks, I'm going to visit one of the locations. Right, I'll be honest with you, even though I was pointing to the Iceland book here, I'm not unfortunately going to visit one of the Iceland locations in this video. But I tell you what, Iceland is on my bucket list and this book has done nothing to suppress that desire to go. But I will be visiting a location in Cornwall, that's right. So this book is packed full of great Cornish locations. Many of them I actually haven't visited, so I thought this is a great opportunity to see how good this book is by actually visiting one of the locations and going out and taking some photographs. But that's later on in the video. Why don't we talk about the content of the books first? The Photographer's Guide is a collection of landscape photography location guidebooks which cover most areas of the UK and, as you've seen, parts of Iceland as well. Each book contains around 50 locations and covers all the critical information such as parking locations, other useful information to really help you make the most of your photography trip, to give you a bit of a head start. It's published by a company called Long Valley Books, all printed in the UK, which is nice to see, and also from sustainable sourced paper, which is really nice to see more and more books having their eco credentials on display. Behind Long Valley Books is a person called Bowness, and amazingly so, she actually researched and wrote every single one of these books, which I think is an absolutely stellar effort. I mean, just to do one book is effort enough as it was, but to do all these books just shows you what a commitment she has to bringing these books to the public. But why don't we take a closer look inside? To give you an idea of how extensive the range of books is, let me tell you what titles there currently is available. There's The Photographer's Guide to Iceland, the North Yorkshire Coast, Cornwall, Snowdonia in North Wales, Northumberland, Scotland, the Lake District, the Yorkshire Dales, the Peak District, and of course London. Now I've had a look at all these books, especially Cornwall and Scotland, and no matter, even though I've photographed those locations quite extensively, there are still new locations in there that I had yet to discover and yet to photograph. So there should be something in there for even the most well-travelled of landscape photographers. All the books follow a reasonably similar format. Normally they open with an introduction, which gives you a little bit of an overview of the area and the types of photographs that you could expect to capture when visiting. There's also an overview map as well, so you can see what all the locations are placed geographically. The book is then split up into sections. These are normally collections of locations that are reasonably close together. And then as you dive into those sections, you'll get some maps. Now the maps are packed full of useful information, including helpful stuff like car parking. It's always good to know where you can park your car when visiting these locations. Plus it will give you lots of other POI information and really help put the location in context to its surroundings. And then as you read through and you get to each of the locations, each location is accompanied with some text and normally a really inspiring picture to give you a proper flavour of what that location is like. Now the text isn't too descriptive. It doesn't tell you should put your tripod right in these holes here and you should use these camera settings. It's all about giving you a flavour for the location. It's all about inspiring you to visit there, but still leaving you open to do your own creative thing. There's also a lot of value add in these books, not just the information about the locations. Some of the things I really like, for example, is the location summary table that's in these books. The one in Cornwall here, for example, summarises all the locations that you can visit, but also tells you what type of location it is, how difficult the walk is, how far it is from the car park. Really useful information when you want to do a bit of quick planning. Then there's a London one, and it's got London specific information in it, like do you require to pay an admission fee to get into that location? Are tripods allowed? Also the type of location as well. Really useful information. And then having a look at the Iceland one, its table has got slightly different content as well. It's got all the locations, tells you the type of location, but it also tells you what type of vehicle you might require. Do you need a four-wheel drive, for example, and the time taken to walk from the car park, all those kind of things. And also, in the Iceland book, it uses each of the locations has a QR code that you can scan with your mobile phone, and it will show you where that location is on Google Maps. as well as there'll be some symbol information there telling you about toilets, whether you're allowed to fly drones. And it's that type of value-add information that really appeals to me, particularly when I go and visit Wales, because in the Wales book, it's got a little section on the Welsh language as well. So really useful information, and it's designed, therefore, to make the most out of your trip by making it essentially a proper guidebook. I have to say, I'm really impressed with these books. I'm surprised I haven't discovered them before, to be honest. Now, even though I visited some of the areas before, such as Scotland, the Lake District, and even here in Cornwall, it's really pleasing to see that there are locations in here that I haven't visited before. So there's definitely a few new spots that I'm going to have to go and photograph as a result. And the books, I really like the layout and the format. The maps are really useful. They've got lots of useful information in them, but without being cluttered. And I like all the locations and the way they've got some great photographs to go with them. And then there's all that additional information that I touched on earlier. Just makes it, turn it into a proper guidebook. And the thing I also like is the size. Now, this book is small enough. It's amazing how much information you can get into a small book, but it's small enough for me to want to take out with me on location. So it can either sit in the glove box of the car, or it can even fit in the camera bag. The problem with if a location book or a guidebook is too big, you're not going to take it out with you. With a book like this though, even though I'm going to have a whole series of them on my bookshelf, there's probably always going to be at least one of them in my camera bag. At the start of this video, I promised that we'd visit one of the locations in the book, and we will be indeed heading to Cornwall very shortly. Now, if you want to pick up a copy of any of these books, they're all sold via Amazon, so I shall include some Amazon links in the video description below. But it's also well worth checking out the Long Valley Books website as well. I'll include a link for that in the video description. And if you go to the article section, you'll find lots of useful content that Ellen's written, such as mini guides and some downloadable PDFs as well. So please do check that out as well. But why don't we find a location and head to Cornwall. Good morning and welcome to Bodmin Moor, where I'm going to shoot location number 50 in the book, Row It All. Okay, so I am going to have to work really fast and really hard this morning. Actually, the sun is just peeking over the horizon, but I've been having a little look about here. This place is a gold mine of compositions. I can't believe I've never been here before. Why have I never known to come to this place before? So I'm going to have to run about, I think. Once the light comes and it starts hitting the rocks, I've already picked out a few compositions, so I'm not sure how much talking I'm going to do, but I'll try and talk you through much of it as I possibly can. But as always, got to prioritise in the pictures. But here comes the sun now. Let's get to work. So for my first composition, I've come down to the lower part of the Tor, and I'm looking down onto this interesting kind of collection of rocks. I love this. It reminds me very much of Dartmoor. Got all these shapes and patterns that the rocks create, and there's this kind of one that's pointing out almost directly to the sun. And the sun is just bursting above the horizon now. So all I'm waiting for is for that light just to get high enough above the hill in the distance, and then start putting some light on the ground there. I really hope that happens. The sky is really nice. It's catching, the clouds are catching the light, and I've got these absolutely fantastic views of all the other little tors that are around here. This is such an awesome location, such fantastic views. Oh, the sun's about to go behind the cloud. Never mind. Well, let's keep working and we'll see what happens. So I have somewhat reluctantly left that viewpoint. I say reluctantly because there wasn't any light on the foreground when I was shooting it. I still think it was a good shot and one worth taking, but I know that there's lots of other good shots here, so I need to be able to work fast and capture some more images. So I've come a little bit higher up, so I've got a bigger view of the surrounding moor. The sun is properly up now. Unfortunately, the clouds are starting to clear, so the sky is getting a little bit less interesting, but I think there's still plenty of shots here to take. I'm just waiting. I'm hoping there's going to be a bit of that nice soft golden light on the foreground here to really kind of lift that composition, because the sky's looking great. If I can get it balanced with the foreground, it'll be bang on the money. And then there's a shot over there that I'm going to take. But time to get back to work. Right, I'm back again. I'm still at this particular viewpoint. What I forgot to say is, now that the sun is actually just coming up, it's actually starting to finally get some light on the foreground rocks. But what really I like about this particular spot, I'm standing quite high up here, and they've got this kind of triangular shape in the foreground rocks. There's kind of a crack down between the rocks, and this creates a nice triangle which points out towards the view. it's really quite nice, and that's allowing me, and that's why I'm shooting it really wide. So I think I'm at 14mm on my 14 to 30. So this really helps me, make the most of those lines as it points out into the distance there. Wow. Did I say it's a cracking morning? It's a cracking morning. Right, so I've come up to the top of the tor now, and I'm looking in the opposite direction from the sun. So the sun's kind of behind me. The sun was just getting too bright. There was no clouds to diffuse it, so shooting in that direction was becoming a little bit impractical. But the view this way is absolutely fantastic. I've got this expansive tor here. It's the layers. There's so many layers in these rocks. It's absolutely amazing. It does make you wonder what processes on this planet happened to create all these rocks. It's such a cracking view. Anyway, so it's actually quite a difficult one for me to compose. The sky's quite clear at the moment, but fortunately there's some more cloud coming through there, so that's going to work to my advantage shortly. The light is just catching the rocks. The reason it's quite difficult is I've got this this bit of the tor here, and then I've got another bit over there. I've also got that lake over there, and at the moment it's just kind of cutting into the corner of the frame, so I'm just trying to position myself. So I've still got this tor and that one, but I'm not bringing in half a lake, because you don't want half a lake or an eighth of a lake. Either include it or don't include it. So, but I think in this spot I'm in the right place, and the light now is just catching the grasses down there as well. So I think, yep, here come the clouds, just probably in the right place now. So I'm going to take this picture as well. Well, what a fantastic morning of photography it's been. Shooting sunrise is always exciting. The light's constantly changing, the clouds are constantly changing. Plus, I'm here at a new location, so I don't know it that well, and I'm spotting compositions. And because the light's changing, what was dull one minute is exciting the next. So a lot around about, but that's what makes landscape photography exciting. And I'm really happy that I've found this location. So thank you, Ellen, for highlighting this location in this book. I'm definitely going to be coming back. I think this is a location that's going to work well, both at sunrise and sunset. I think she actually mentions that in the book. But yeah, I think I've come away with some decent images this morning. Certainly well worth getting up at 4 AM or whatever time my alarm call went off this morning. Okay, let's talk about some of the information that I found really helpful in this book. So this is view or location number 50, Roa Tor. Now, as you can see behind me, there's actually quite a lot to shoot here. There's Little Roa Tor, there's Roa Tor, there's some other tors I can't remember the name of them. But so some of the useful information that I have used. So at the back, as I mentioned when I was back home, there's a table here, and it tells you the approximate walking time from the car park. This one was 30 minutes, which is probably pretty well about right. And then the other information that I used here, it's a very handy grid references. So they've got the OS map grid references, and I put those straight into my OS maps on my computer, and that gave me the exact location of the car park. And now knowing where the car park is extremely useful, particularly when I arrived here, because it was dark, never been here before. So having exact information can really save you a lot of time and a lot of faffing about in the morning. So that was bang on the money. And then when I got here, I got my mobile phone out, put the OS grid reference for the tor, so I knew roughly where I was going. But she did give a sort of textual description, head up the hill and then along the ridge was one of the easiest way, and that's exactly what I did. So that was really helpful information. Now, obviously there's a picture here, but as with these guidebooks, it's not about telling you exactly where to take your photographs or what shots you should take, where to put your tripod holes. It's just to give you an idea of what the location's like. And when I got up here, I was perfectly inspired to pick out my own compositions. I wasn't looking at the guidebook going, oh, well, where's that particular shot? It's just about introducing you to new locations. So you might think, well, I don't really need a guidebook, I don't want to be told where to go, but you can find some really good bits of inspiration. Or as I've done, even though this is Cornwall, it's the county across from where I live, I know quite a lot of the locations. I found something new, found something exciting. Never been to Bodmin Moor, so that's something I've now corrected, so I'm quite happy about that. So this is where I think guidebooks come in particularly useful. They've got that critical information to get you to a location quickly and efficiently, and then they can give you some rough ideas of what the photography is like. But when you get up here, everything's open to you. You can take whatever picture you like. Right, I think that's just about it for me. I really hope you've enjoyed this kind of elongated episode of On My Bookshelf. I think these books are absolutely fantastic, purely just for the reason because I've discovered this location. So if you've never got one, I'm really happy with it. So, you know, I'm very happy that I've got these on my bookshelf, and I think, you know, it's well worth picking up one or two of these, depending on where you're going. They're a really handy resource, and like I say, they're actually small enough to fit in your bag. Well, not silly, but I took all of them up to this tour this morning so I could get the video thumbnail of them, of all the books for that. So I wouldn't suggest you carry them all, but I've at least carry one of them in your bag. So they're well worth picking up, and I think I'll include some links for where you can buy them in the video description below. But I really, like I say, really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've got an extra few minutes, I'll include some links for some other On My Bookshelf videos as well, and some of my other landscape photography videos as well, so please do check those out. I hope you've enjoyed it. So remember to click on the like button, share, comment, all that great stuff, and of course subscribe. And until the next one, I'll see you then.